You know that feeling when you meet someone who just sounds incredibly impressive, but then you ask one or two questions and you realize, wait a minute, there's nothing really there? Well, today we're going to dig into that exact idea. We'll do it through this amazing story about the physicist Max Planck. It perfectly captures the difference between just knowing the words and actually understanding what they mean.
So picture this. You hear this line, "Professor, I've heard your lecture so many times, I could give it myself." Now, who do you think is saying that? A colleague? A student? Nope, it's his chauffeur. And the guy he's talking to, only Max Planck, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. And that one little sentence, believe it or not, it kicks off this kind of real-life experiment.
All right, so the story goes like this. Max Planck, he's just won the Nobel Prize, right? So he's on this huge tour all over Germany, and he's giving the exact same lecture on quantum mechanics over and over and over again. And every single time, his chauffeur is right there with him, sitting in the back of the room just listening. So city after city, it's the same routine. Planck gets up, gives his big, groundbreaking lecture. The chauffeur sits in the back and listens, and then they pack up and travel to the next town. Repeat. And you know, after hearing this thing so many times, the chauffeur did something pretty incredible. He memorized the whole thing, the entire super complex lecture, word for perfect word. And this is where things get really interesting. Planck, he's not offended, he's actually kind of amused by his chauffeur's confidence. So he says, okay, let's do it. They agreed to swap roles. So at their next stop, in Munich, the plan is set. The chauffeur is going to get up on stage, and the actual Nobel laureate, Max Planck, is going to sit in the front row wearing the chauffeur's hat. And you know what? The guy absolutely nailed it. I mean, the performance was flawless. He had all the right hand gestures, the right pauses, the right tone of voice, everything he had seen Planck do 100 times. The audience? They were completely hooked. They gave him a huge round of applause at the end.
But it's not over yet. After the applause dies down, it's time for the Q&A. And sure enough, a physicist in the audience gets up and asks this really, really tough technical question. And this is it, right? This is the moment of truth. This is where just memorizing a script completely falls apart. This is the real test.
But this chauffeur, he's quick on his feet. He doesn't panic. He just pauses for a second, looks at the guy, and with total confidence says, "You know, I'm surprised to hear such an elementary question here in an advanced city like Munich." And then, here's the brilliant part. He says, that question is so simple, I'm going to let my chauffeur answer it. And boom, the real Max Planck stands up and handles it. Just brilliant. So that amazing move by the chauffeur, it perfectly sets up what we're talking about today. Because this isn't just a funny story, right? It's a really powerful lesson about two totally different kinds of knowledge. On one side, you've got what we'll call chauffeur knowledge. This is the performance. It's memorized, it's polished, but it's totally superficial. And on the other side, you've got Planck knowledge. Now, this is the real deal. This is knowledge that's been earned through hard work. It's deep and it's real. So let's really break down this chauffeur knowledge. Think of it as knowing how to talk the talk without being able to walk the walk. You've got the script, you've got the lingo, you've got the performance down, but you don't actually have the skill underneath it all. Yeah, it sounds super impressive on the surface, but just like we saw with that physicist question, the second you apply any real pressure, it just crumbles. And come on, we see this stuff everywhere, don't we? You know, people who repeat opinions they literally just heard on a podcast, or they quote some big idea from a book they've never actually read. They argue about topics they don't really get, or they just project this vibe of total confidence, but there's no actual competence to back it up. That right there, that's chauffeur knowledge in the wild. Okay, so what about Planck knowledge? Well, it's the total opposite. It's not something you borrow or memorize. It's something you build from the ground up. It comes from actually getting your hands dirty, from struggling with a problem, from making mistakes and learning from them, from staying curious. It's usually a lot quieter and less flashy, but when the pressure is on, it holds up. Why? Because it's real. So this all leads to a really big question, right? If Planck knowledge is obviously so much more valuable, why does it feel like our world rewards chauffeur knowledge all the time? Why does the slick performance so often get way more attention than the actual substance behind it? Well, it's because the rewards are just different. Chauffeur knowledge gets you all the fast, flashy stuff. The applause, the likes on social media, the immediate praise and attention. It's perfect for a world that's obsessed with speed.
But Planck knowledge, that gets you the stuff that really matters. Things like real competence, unshakable competence, credibility, and maybe most importantly, self-respect. See, one is fast, but the other one lasts. And once you really get this, it kind of changes everything. You stop being so impressed by people who just sound super confident. You start to realize, hey, just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're wise. And just because they're smooth doesn't mean they're a master. You learn how to cut through all the noise and find the actual signal. So this brings it all back to us and the choice we have to make in our own lives, our own learning. Are we aiming to be the chauffeur or are we aiming to be Planck? Because that choice really determines the path we end up on.
Okay, so how do we choose to be Planck? The first step is to just completely shift your goal. Stop trying to just memorize the lines so you can repeat them back. Aim to actually earn the understanding. It means you got to do the hard work. You got to push past just knowing the words and really fight to grasp the concepts behind them. And a huge part of this is changing what drives you. It means you have to stop chasing the applause. Stop worrying so much about the likes and the praise. Instead, you start chasing clarity for yourself. You chase that amazing internal feeling, that aha moment when something finally truly clicks into place.
You know, getting to that real Planck knowledge, it takes a little humility. It means when you feel ignorant about something, you don't fake it. You ask questions, even the ones you think are dumb. You take your time. And you have to stop thinking of not knowing as something to be ashamed of. Instead, see it for what it is, a perfect opportunity to get curious.
And just remember this little truth. The people who are actually worth listening to, they're the ones who are still learning. The true experts, the folks with that deep Planck knowledge, they're always the first ones to tell you what they don't know. They're still curious. That's the real sign of wisdom, not weakness.
Look, at the end of the day, this is all about playing the long game. A flashy performance might get you noticed, sure. It might even get your foot in the door. But it's real, hard-earned competence that's going to keep you in the room. It's what lets you build something that actually matters and that lasts. Because here's the bottom line. Fads fade away. The noise dies down. Performances, they end. The only thing that's left is substance. It's that true, earned knowledge that actually holds its value and makes a real impact. So I want to leave you with this one final thought, this one question to ask yourself. In your work, in your learning, in your life, when you show up, who are you being? The person who has memorized the lines or the one who really truly understands? Are you the chauffeur or are you Planck?